What if the line between our world and the spirit world was, well, way thinner than we thought? Today, we're opening the case files on a man who didn't just believe it, he lived it. Get ready to meet Rabbi Yehuda Pataya, one of the most incredible mystics of the 20th century, whose documented life, and I mean this, reads more like a supernatural thriller than a biography.
Okay, let's just dive right in with a scene from Baghdad. Picture this. Rabbi Pataya is walking with his students when this massive, terrifying dog just appears out of nowhere, sending everyone scrambling. But the dog, it runs straight for the rabbi, bows its head between his feet, and starts to whimper. He whispers something to it, and it just calmly walks away. This quote? That was his explanation. He said the dog was the reincarnated soul of a man who had taken his own life, and it had come to him, specifically, for spiritual repair. Wow.
I mean, an incident like that just opens a door to a world that seems almost impossible, right? So we've got to investigate. Who was this man at the center of all these strange and mystical events? Who was the man who could apparently see and even speak to the souls of the dead?
So how does someone even develop abilities like that? Well, to get the answer, we have to go back to the beginning. See, this wasn't some hermit meditating alone on a mountaintop. Rabbi Pataya's story is rooted deep in the rich, ancient soil of Baghdad's Jewish community, a world just steeped in esoteric wisdom.
His life really spanned two different worlds. He was born back in 1859 in Baghdad, which was this major center of ancient Jewish learning. And get this, even at 7 years old, he was so drawn to mystical teachings that he would literally cry during lectures because he wanted to understand but couldn't quite grasp them yet. He became a rabbi at just 17, and then in 1933, he moved to the spiritual heart of the Jewish world, Jerusalem, where he lived until he passed away in 1942.
And this is so crucial. He wasn't some self-taught maverick. His knowledge was built on this incredibly solid foundation. He learned from the most respected Kabbalists of his time, masters of Jewish mysticism, including the legendary Rabbi Yosef Hayim. In fact, Rabbi Pataya himself believed that his profound understanding later in life was a direct reward for those tears he shed as a little boy, just desperate to comprehend the universe's deepest secrets. And that deep foundation in mysticism, well, it set the stage for his most astonishing work, his documented direct interactions with the unseen world.
Okay, this is where the story takes a turn for the truly remarkable. Rabbi Pataya didn't just write about spirits as an abstract idea. In his own books, he documented seeing them with his own eyes, having full-on conversations with them, and, this is the most incredible part, even physically touching them. And this quote just brilliantly illustrates his whole approach. This is from his own account of meeting a departed soul inside a synagogue. He wasn't afraid. He was curious. He wanted to understand its nature. So he just reached out and shook its hand, and later described the sensation as being like squeezing a sponge. It makes this completely spiritual event feel so tangible, almost scientific. So based on these encounters, he actually developed a specific, repeatable process for dealing with what are known as dibuks, or possessing spirits. He basically turned a chaotic, scary event into a methodical procedure. Step 1, locate the spirit, which he noted moves around constantly inside the host. Step 2, communicate directly into the person's ear, a technique a spirit itself told him was most effective. And finally, Step 3, perform the Yikudim, a very specific series of mystical prayers and sacred names designed to heal the tormented soul and help it depart peacefully. But his work wasn't all about dramatic exorcisms. Rabbi Pataya was, first and foremost, a profound scholar, and the story behind his greatest written work is maybe just as miraculous as any spirit encounter he ever had. He wrote a lot of important books, like Minhat Yehuda, which is where you can find many of his spiritual case files. But it's his commentary on the core text of Kabbalah, the Zohar, a book called Yain HaRakach, that has this absolutely incredible story behind it. You see, he wrote this masterpiece when he was a young man, but he was so humble, so sure that he was unworthy of commenting on such a holy text, that he just hid the manuscript for 15 years. The book that would become his most famous work just sat there hidden away from the world. So get this, it took a direct command from the heavens to get this book published. Another great Kabbalist, a Rabbi Avraham Adas, had a dream, and in the dream, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the actual 2nd century author of the Zohar, appeared to him. The message was crystal clear. Go find the Kabbalist who came from Baghdad and tell him to publish his commentary. Only after getting this divine message did Rabbi Pataya finally agree to share his wisdom. That whole connection to the dream world brings us to another one of his unique areas of expertise: his system for understanding and interpreting the messages we all get while we're sleeping.
In his book, Minshat Yehuda, he gives us a really clear rule for telling the difference between a true prophetic dream and a false one. A true dream, he says, is when you're totally calm during the dream. The shock or fear only hits you after you wake up, just like it did for Pharaoh in the Bible. A false dream, on the other hand, one that's designed by negative forces just to freak you out, is when the terror happens inside the dream itself. For Pataya, a true dream is basically a divine message. It's spiritual data sent for your own correction.
So, after hearing all these incredible stories, what's the big takeaway? What is Rabbi Pataya's lasting impact on the world beyond these really astonishing case files?
Well, his significance isn't just the stuff of folklore. I mean, this quote comes from Professor Yehuda Libiz, a leading modern academic expert on Jewish mysticism at Hebrew University. That kind of scholarly recognition really cements Rabbi Pataya's status as a pivotal figure who bridged these ancient mystical traditions with a methodical, documented approach to the spiritual world. And he left the world with a pretty powerful vision of his own. Near the end of his life, he was shown the spiritual state of all of humanity. He saw 40 sacks of wheat representing all the spiritual work needed to bring about redemption. But the sacks, they were almost empty, with just a few grains left to be sorted. It was his way of saying that humanity was incredibly close, so close, to the finish line of its spiritual task.
Ultimately, Rabbi Pataya's life just challenges us to think, to consider that there might be far more to our reality than what we perceive with our five senses. His work, documented with such clarity, leaves us with this final lingering thought. What can a 20th century mystic from Baghdad teach us about the unseen forces that might be shaping our own lives, right here, right now?